I own 4 sleeping bags, but I don't own a tent. The hammock I tested belongs to my brother, and I have already returned it. And the only mattress I trusted so far relies on a 230 wall socket. So I may have approached motorcycle camping slightly wrong. And the last time I tried to fix it, I came home with one less working collarbone. When I started camping, I was not trying to build the most lightweight adventure camping set I could. I just used the things that I got at home or was gifted to me to try out. My wife and I had been gifted an older tent by her parents. I had also been gifted these 2 sleeping bags, and for a mattress I used this, an indoor guest bed with an electric pump. It is comfortable, it is large, it is very easy to inflate as long as your remote wilderness has main electricity. And at that time, none of this felt unreasonable. The equipment was available, it gave me somewhere to sleep, and it allowed me to try out camping for the first time without spending a fortune. But there is a difference between equipment that lets you test camping and a system that you can rely on cold motorcycle adventures. I did not understand that difference yet. So eventually then, I bought my own sleeping bag, because let's face it, I'm a big dude. I need some larger place to sleep than the 2 given to me could give me. So I tried to buy the most affordable I can get in my size. I looked at the temperature rating and thought, yep, that will be fine. And then slept outside when the temperature dropped to below 0 degrees. And I froze like a dog. And then I discovered the temperature reading on the bag is not always the temperature which you sleep comfortable at. Many bags shows more than one number, a comfort rating, a lower limit, and an extreme limit. The extreme limit doesn't mean you will have a lovely night. It means the conversation has moved from comfort to more of a survival experience. And those ratings still cannot know if you're sleeping in the cold, in the warmth, how tired you are when you're going to bed, what clothes you're wearing, how the bags fits you, or what's underneath you. I had treated one number like a guarantee. The bag had made promises it never actually made. So after that cold night, I did not sit down and construct a whole new sleep system. I had an immediate problem. I needed to sleep outside again, and I did not want to freeze again. So I urgently went and bought another sleeping bag. And that's how I ended up with 4 sleeping bags. Not because I went shopping 4 times. The first 2 was given to me. I bought the 3rd, froze in it during sub-zero nights, and then bought the 4th one because I needed a warmer solution quickly. So every step makes sense on its own, but together they still don't solve the whole problem. Because while I still blame the sleeping bag, I was sleeping on this, a large, uninsulated sleeping mat designed for warm indoors. A sleeping bag keeps you warm because it traps warm air inside, but underneath you, that insulation is compressed. So that means insulation below you needs to come from the mattress. And soft does not automatically mean warm. This mattress contains a large volume of air that becomes cold at night. It was giving me comfort, but it is not designed to protect me from the cold. So I may have tried to solve a floor problem by buying more roof insulation. The sleeping bag may have been a part of the problem, but it was never the only part. Then the old tent finally split on its last ride. It was given to us, it has done its job very well, and now it's gone. Which means I have optimized my sleeping bags for a shelter that I no longer have. 4 sleeping bags, no tent. This is progress. but only if you draw the graph upside down. And that was why a hammock looked like a good solution. I did not buy it, I borrowed it from my brother to find out whether hammocks was for me or not. I have now returned it. I do not have it available for demonstration. So if I choose that route, I need to find another one to borrow or buy my own one. But a hammock is not only a fabric banana tied between two trees. Your body compresses your sleeping bag even in a hammock, so cold air can still move beneath you. You still will need insulation under you. That can be a proper insulated sleeping mattress, or it can be something I never heard about before, an under quilt. Besides its name, an under quilt is not something you will be laying on. It hangs outside underneath the hammock, close enough to trap warm air without being crushed by your body weight. Above you, you still need a sleeping bag or a top quilt, and around you, you need weather protection such as a tarp. This means I'm not facing one big choice. I'm facing several separate choices. A tent or a hammock decides where and how I sleep. An insulated mat, or only in hammock systems, a suspended underneath quilt decides what's insulated under me. And then there's a choice I actually was thinking about. Sleeping bag or quilt. A quilt is basically a sleeping bag blanket rather than a closed bag. Both are insulated from above, and neither of them replaces the need for shelter or insulation underneath you. So, tent versus hammock is one decision, sleeping bag versus quilt is another one, and whatever I choose above me depends on what system I need to have to insulate below me. For a tent, that means an insulated sleeping mat, and the under quilt only becomes relevant if I choose a hammock system. So before anything else, I need to stop choosing individual products and decide what the complete sleeping system will be. For me, it has 6 jobs. 1, it must handle the real Swedish spring and autumn nights, including temperatures around 0 or below freezing. I need to judge the warmth in comfort readings, not the bravest number printed on the bag. 2, it must have deliberate insulation below me. It cannot be an afterthought. 3, it must fit on the motorcycle without taking up half of the packing space. 4, it has to fit me. Saving 300 grams is pointless if I have to spend 8 hours vacuum packed and cannot roll over. 5, it must be simple enough to set up when I'm cold, when I'm tired, and I'm less intelligent than I was when I planned the route. And 6, I need to trust it enough that a bad night doesn't leave me without option to ride home at night. And yes, the emergency troca remains an essential part of a survival kit. That's not up for discussion. That leaves me with 2 optional routes, but right now I don't own neither of the shelters. I can build a proper tent setup, a new tent, an insulated mat, and then either of the sleeping bags I already own, or a quilt, if it generally suits the system better. It's familiar, it works without trees, and it feels more predictable. But I still need suitable ground and a warm, comfortable sleeping mattress that packs small enough for the motorcycle. Or I can decide that the borrowing test is worth pursuing and acquire a complete hammock, my own hammock, a tarp, a proper insulation underneath, and the right insulation above. That will keep me off wet or uneven ground, but it depends on suitable trees. It has more separate parts than I first realized, and none of this matters if I can't sleep comfortable. And because I have returned my brother's hammock, that route now begins with either buying my own or searching for another hammock. Whichever shelter I choose to go with, I still have the separate decision what I will have above me. Do I still use one of my sleeping bags, or do I replace this part with a quilt? A quilt will give me more room to move around in. It may take less space on a motorcycle because it packs smaller. But just as a sleeping bag, it cannot be judged on its own. It has to be a part of the complete system. Even a new sleeping bag can't solve that problem. So no, I did not foolishly buy 4 separate sleeping bags. I was given 2. I bought one that didn't cover me in the cold conditions. Then urgently buy my last one. So the real mistake is not one single purchase. It was solving one problem at a time without understanding the system around it. For now, I do not need sleeping bag number 5. First, I need to choose which shelter I'm going with. Then, I have to choose the right insulation below me. First then, I can choose whether to continue with a sleeping bag or go with a quilt. That is a much more responsible plan. Which is unfortunate because buying just one new equipment is much easier. If you were to build a new system for the Swedish spring and autumn seasons, which route would you choose? A tent with an insulated mat or a complete hammock system with insulation underneath? Tell me what you would choose, and more importantly, why? Because I have already proven that making camping decisions in the middle of the night, it's not my strongest suit. Until the next time, the motorcycle stays parked, the collarbone keeps healing, and my wallet remains closed. Probably. Remember, age before beauty, don't do anything I shouldn't do, and ride safe out there.